What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody? Today is Championship Monday. History will be made when Virginia and Texas Tech square off tonight, as one of these teams will come away with their first ever NCAA men's basketball championship. Should be an exciting game. As always, LDub joins us to give his take on how both teams got here and who he believes will cut down the nets tonight. So hang loose. We're going to get into it all right now on Sports 360. Okay, we are now at Championship Monday in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. We had two exciting games on Saturday, and as usual, we have our man LDub on the phone to talk to us about the games that were and to also give us a preview for tonight's championship game between Virginia and Texas Tech. LDub, how you doing this morning?
I'm great, Jeff. I'm great.
Good. And I know you were front and center on Saturday, just like most of the basketball world, those who are interested in the NCAA, watching the Final Four. So want to get your thoughts on the games on Saturday and then move ahead to tonight's game between Virginia and Texas Tech. So let's start with the Auburn and Virginia game. There's a lot to talk about there, but give us an overview of that game, what you saw, what you thought turning points were, and the rest of it.
Well, in the Auburn and Virginia game, definitely you can tell at the start of the game that the wear and tear was on Auburn because they played less players. And, you had guys early in the game cramping up, had guys. So I thought that would be a factor. But, man, I can only tilt my hat to those guys from Auburn. Those guys fought. I mean, they stayed in the game. They caused so many problems for Virginia at the beginning until Virginia figured it out a little bit. And Hunter, who is the All-American for Virginia, I mean, he kind of like just sit back and watch the show the first half. And I don't know what Bennett told him at halftime, but he came back out a lot more aggressive at the second half. But the play of Horace Spencer for Auburn, Jared Harper, should I say, for Auburn, when this guy came back out, on the floor the second half and he was cramping up and they take him out and he'd come back in, and every time he'd come back in, he'd spark him. And when they went down by the 10 points, Virginia had them by a 10-point lead, I basically said, I think they finally ran out of steam, and, man, Auburn found a way to fight back, claw back, and came back and, they kept it a competitive game till they actually took the lead. And I do think had that double dribble been called, which as soon as this happens, I was sitting here with, a couple of friends of mine, and as soon as it happened, I pointed out, look, man, he double dribbled, and they looked at it and said, well, referee didn't call it, which was a true statement. It didn't call it. And I think that set the tone for what was to come, kind of like say, hey, if you can get away with one thing, chances are you might get away with another one. And they did. Yeah. Virginia got away with a lot of things right there in one sequence. After the double dribble, passed the ball to the corner, the guy hit the three, came back down 2 plays later, and had a chance to hit the three to win the game, and the player was fouled. Guy was fouled. And when he went to the free throw line, the guy's like, 89% free throw shooter, 89.1. So you almost knew it was automatic that he hit all three and gave Virginia the victory.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot that happened, as you just pointed out. There was a lot that happened after Auburn went down 10. Because I agree with you. I thought that game was over at that point. But again, and this is that grit that I was talking about when we spoke the last time, that Auburn has, and they just fought back. I mean, that kid, Bryce Brown, started, he hit a couple of, 3-pointers from the corner. And as you said, Harper came in and sparked the team. But here's one of the things that not a lot has been said about, but, you get to, those last couple of sequences. They had fouled Harper. And he went to the line for 2, and they were up 1 at that point. And he hit 1, and he missed the second one.
Correct.
And he's a good free throw shooter too. And then you have, as you talked about, Ty Jerome coming up, and the ball hits off his foot. And this is the second time, in my opinion, that a ball goes backwards and Virginia's able to corral it and still make a play, right? We saw it at the Purdue game when the ball, right, the foul shot, it goes into the backcourt. They were able to get it, push it up, and Diakite hit that shot. And then here you saw Jerome, being able to come back. He got fouled. But what do you think about that, right? The fact that Auburn didn't have they weren't in a penalty yet. So Brown actually fouled Jerome with 1.5 left, right? Where if they weren't fouling, Jerome would have had to heave the ball from about half court and try to get, try to get a miracle shot. So in some ways, Auburn, having played good defense and not being in foul trouble, actually played itself out right there, because Brown intentionally fouled Jerome because they weren't in the penalty yet.
Correct. Well, in a case like that, being a coach or a player, it's a gamble. I mean, and you would think, okay, we're going to put pressure on them throwing the ball in. It's going to take at least, once they catch the ball, it's going to take at least, 0.9 seconds for them to corral it, take a dribble, and then get the shot off. And we're going to make sure they're going away from the basket, with our defensive presence. So you got a game plan for it. However, things don't always work out that way. And this was a perfect situation where it didn't work out that way. Somehow they let a guy get free to the ball side going toward the, 3-point line in the corner. As soon as he got it, he took the one dribble, which is what we said we wanted him to do, take a dribble, but he spun around and went vertical. And it kind of caught Brown off guard, so he goes up to block the shot, and he bumps into the guy. And, things happen, man. And I've seen, miracle plays, but it's ironic that it happened for that game against Tennessee and Purdue the similar way. So if the referees made that call, it was kind of like, hey, the precedent has been set. We have to make that call. Their argument with the backcourt was that the way the ball bounced, it looked almost as if though the defender had hit it because it didn't go far enough back, behind the player's leg, behind Jerome's leg. But, my thing is you could see it. It was visible. No one touched the ball. And the guy picked the ball up with 2 hands, which constituted that now the ball's dead, and then he started to dribble again. I mean, you can't – it was too much that happened that you couldn't –
Sure.
As a referee, you couldn't see that.
Yeah.
But, hey, I guess, like I said, worse things have happened. So
yeah. And the foul in the corner on Guy, that was a foul. I mean, the guy jumped up. He made contact with him. You can't, complain about that one. I mean, Guy kind of helped a little bit. He kicked his leg out some to make it look worse, but that's basketball. That was a foul. The double dribble is really, an unfortunate one. And, I texted you after the game and I said, look, I didn't see it live. You know what I mean? It didn't register for me. And I'm sure for a lot of other people as well. But there were a lot of people like yourself who saw it when it happened. You know what I mean? Right. So it was one of those things. It was very quick. Some people saw it, some didn't. But the most important thing is the ones who were paid to see it didn't see it, and it wasn't called. Right? So,
hey, if the ref didn't call it, it didn't. It never happened. That's all I can tell you. That's right. The rule of basketball. But the bright side of both of this is that Auburn only had 4 seniors on their team, and only one of them was a starter. Only one senior was a starter. So if these guys came back, and actually Virginia only have one senior on their team, and none of them started. So you think about the teams that are left in the game, they didn't really play a lot of seniors. So if those guys did want to stay together and come back, I know Jared, has potential of being drafted, somewhere in the second round, late first, early second round, and I guess, Chuma Oki, if he's a sophomore, if he decides to come back, which I think he should because of the fact no one knows how he's going to recover, so he should come back to show. If he does come back, they're going to have a viable team to, with a little bit more experience. Same thing with Virginia. If those guys, we know Hunter's a lottery pick, if he decides to go, but he's a sophomore. The rest of those guys are juniors and freshmen. The point guard, Kiwi Clark, I don't think Virginia even has a chance in this game without that little kid, the point guard from California, Kiwi Clark. He controlled the pace of the game. He steadied them down. He hit big shots, made big plays. I mean, he was very instrumental in their victory.
Yeah. Well, again, how I feel about Virginia. I don't like them. I just don't.
Those kids never did nothing to you, man.
No, and right, and that's true. And I know part of it is irrational, and I will admit that. But here's the thing for me though, Dub, is even that game that I points out to me, and it solidifies for me why I don't like this group or this school. Really, I think it's the school, man. I just don't like Virginia basketball because here's the thing. I thought Virginia, if they had as much heart as they have talent, they would be really, really dangerous. Because, like you said, that kid DeAndre Hunter, you can't be the type of player that he is with the talent that he has and disappear like that. Right? The first half, he wasn't there, and I know it happens, especially with college kids and all the rest of it. But this is the Final Four, and he wasn't there. The other thing was, I think that game should have been over once they went up 10. Right. But the heart that those kids on Auburn had then kicked in. They weren't going down without a fight. And the way Virginia responded to that, to me, is troubling. It just shows to me, okay, as I texted you, I said, yeah, they won. I said, but if I was in a street fight, I'd take those Auburn kids any day of the week.
Correct.
And then the last thing I'll say, Dub, and then I'll turn it to you, is that I give Kyle Guy, all the credit in the world. He went up there and he drained those 3 free throws, right? He went up there, man. He was like Cool Hand Luke. He just went up there and he just knocked them down.
He had a smile.
And then after the game, when they asked him about it, he said, I was petrified or terrified or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, see, you went up there and you were like, you were cool as a cucumber. And then the first thing out your mouth was, I'm terrified. I said, you know what? This is why I don't like these guys, man. So, I mean, you could at least play it off and say, hey, I practiced. I went up there, man. Whatever. I was scared. Okay, whatever. I'm sorry, man. And then I see them getting lucky bounces and missed calls and that's what's helping them win games. And for me, yeah. It was a tough pill for me to swallow, Dub. I got to be honest with you, man.
No, I mean it's like that. Anybody that ever been involved in sports and have really paid attention to sports, that's what it does to you. The character of players and the way in which they play the game, the way in which they win or lose, will dictate whether or not you really like that team or not. And what you're saying is, from what I'm hearing, is that their character and their intensity in which they play the game doesn't add up that they should be, winning as many games as they win. And then depending on, and it always depends on a miracle play or a missed call. So those things, could make someone say, "Oh, you guys are just lucky. I don't like you guys." I mean, it could make you say that.
Yeah.
But I'm being a coach and a player in the game, just like if you were playing base. Hey, you got to take it the way it comes. You can learn from a win and a loss, but I'd rather lose from a win, even if it's like, hey, we can't put ourselves in that predicament again. But hey, you just have to take it, the way it's given to you sometimes, man.
Yeah.
It's just basically ugly basketball when there's not a lot of points being scored, which is why the NBA went to the no touching. You can't touch somebody because they want the score to be a high scoring game. So
yeah, and like I said, and look, I know a lot of the emotion and thoughts and feelings I have about Virginia is not even rational. I get it, you know what I mean? But I'm just telling you how, viscerally, you know what I mean? I watched the game and this is how I come out, But listen,
I respect.
Yeah, but they made it, and hats off to them. But now let's go to the second game on Saturday night, Texas Tech and Michigan State, and Texas Tech comes out with a 10-point victory. Give us your thoughts on that game.
Hey, again, Jared Covert had been kind of like Hunter was, like DeAndre Hunter. He kind of was like, sitting in the background waiting. So I guess Matt Money, that kid Money said, I'm not gonna sit around and wait. He came out blazing guns. The kid, and he's the senior. He's a senior on
Right.
Texas Tech team, the guard. Man, he came out hitting threes from downtown, like 2 steps across half court. He was pulling, and they were going in, which set the tone for everybody else to kind of like do whatever they did. And I don't think Michigan State, came in with that idea to say, hey, we got to stop this kid, Matt Money. He's going to dribble and he's going to set the pace, but they didn't know he was going to be shooting, with rapid fire. And that kind of like caught him off guard. And then when Michigan State started shooting and couldn't hit the broadside of a Bourne, man, that didn't help the situation. Winston tried to keep him in it early in the game, with some miraculous drives and hitting, making shots off the backboard that, was kind of like miracles. And it just played out that the defense just warmed down. And, goes back to what you told me earlier, those guys do what they have to do to win. And Texas Tech is consistently playing D. I mean, at the highest rate, actually, of anybody that's left in the tournament right now that I think. Their defense is flawless. They work hard on defense. They only give you one shot. And the fact that second half, Culver started hitting shots as well as Money, as him, Matt Money hitting shots. It was too much. Michigan State never had 2 guys playing at a high level at the same time at any point in the game. And then you got a team that's got their 2 best players playing at a high level, simultaneously. That was just too much for Michigan State to bear, I think.
Yeah. And look, I haven't seen Texas Tech a lot during this tournament, but what I have seen, they are just tenacious, and they just come after you. And the one thing I like about them, Dub, is that sometimes you'll find a team that will get after you on the defensive end, and they'll do that for stretches of the game. You remember what was it? Who was the back in the day? Was it Arkansas that like played that 40? The 40 minutes of habit.
40 minutes of hell.
Yeah,
Arkansas.
yeah, right.
Yep.
You don't have teams playing like that anymore, right? And so every now and then you'll get a team though that will play, for a stretch of time, and they'll be getting after you. I mean, to me, Texas Tech was, pretty consistent on the defensive end, but also they were coming after Michigan State, I thought, on the offensive end too. You know what I mean? I thought they were playing very aggressively on both sides. And I do think there was an element of wearing down Michigan State. And Michigan State's a tough team because, again, to me, Texas Tech and Michigan State almost mirror one another in a lot of ways. But Texas Tech got the best of them. And, they've been playing, well throughout the tournament. I went back and looked up, and again, I mean, they beat Northern Kentucky by 15, beat Buffalo by 20, Michigan by 19, Gonzaga by 6, and Michigan State by 10. You know what I mean? They've been playing, some good basketball. And again, those first two games, Northern Kentucky and Buffalo, yeah, they should win, but they did, and they did it convincingly. And here they are. Here they are now, championship Monday, and now going up against Virginia. So what do you think about tonight? I mean, to me, it's almost a clash here, right? We got this tenacious, active team in Texas Tech. You got this deliberate, very fundamentally sound defensive team in Virginia. And what do you foresee in tonight's game?
Well, first of all, it's going to be the first time, a team like Texas Tech ever came up and played for the national championship. This is going to be the first time either one of these schools have ever, won a national championship. So somebody's going to win tonight, and it's not been like that in a while. Usually the teams that get there, and that in itself, makes this game a higher stake than any other game because they both know that they're representing their school, the history of their school, and being the first ones to do it. But when you look at the stats, I mean, like you said, we know this is going to be a defensive game. And Virginia, is number one in scoring defense, which is a little different than Texas Tech. Texas Tech is number 3 in scoring defense, but they're number 1 in, defense efficiency. And there's two different things that, a lot of people don't understand the difference. One is that they say in Virginia plays defense to decide what their offense is going to be. They play the defense, to set up their offense because they really don't go down and, shoot lights out and just jack the ball up. They run plays, they get you off balance. But they play defense real hard so they can go down and maybe score a quick basket. And they're number 1 in doing that, whereas Texas Tech is number 3. But Texas Tech hasn't been missing too many shots because they only shoot a few shots, and when they shoot, they usually make it. So therefore, they're being able to go down and step their defense up, which harasses. And I heard you say earlier, a few minutes ago, that it kind of wore down Michigan State. I don't think it really wore them down as more as it frustrates you. And when you're trying to, like I say, you're trying to climb a hill and you keep sliding down, you get frustrated. All that does is make it harder for you to even do it because you've lost focus because you're so frustrated. And I think that's what Texas Tech defense does, it just frustrates everybody, which, again, with Virginia having, they don't have any seniors, but the two main guys are juniors. And they've been there, they've been to the big dance before. I think they should be able to handle it, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, depending on if the refs bail them out again or whatever, but I think they're confident that they can do it. Virginia may, definitely they can score offensively a little better than Texas Tech. I think they got more weapons, put it like that. What you got Guy, you got Jerome, you got Hunter, the big kid underneath can score. Like I said, they don't run a lot of plays for him, but he can score. And I really think the X factor is going to come down between Carver and Hunter. Which one of those two lottery picks, puts their will down and submits, makes the other team submit to their will the quickest. It's definitely going to come down to those two. But did you know that Texas Tech is attempting to be the first team since Connecticut back in 1999 to run the table in its first appearance in the Final Four? And you kind of called it, you didn't state it that it would be history making, but you said, Larry, they're the only team that's really just going through their bracket, beating the teams like they should. And no one has done that since UConn when they first played for the title in 99, and they just went through their bracket, just beating up on everybody. And
I mean, that's been impressive to me. Here's the thing too, Larry, that I'm wondering about whether, I looked in the box score, Virginia and Auburn. I mean, Virginia shot 49% from the field and 37% from the 3-point line. And, we know they won the game by 1 point. And I just wonder, I shouldn't say I can't see, but I doubt that they're going to shoot 49% against Texas Tech. Michigan State shot 32%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I just think Texas Tech, as you said, frustrates you, gets after you. You know what I mean? Makes it difficult for you. So I look at this game, and again, when I come back to what I perceive to be, sort of the inner fortitude of both these teams, it shouldn't come as a surprise to you that I'm going with Texas Tech. One, because I think they've been playing better overall throughout the tournament. And second, it goes without saying, I just don't like Virginia.
And the only reason I'm taking Virginia is because I tell you, the way I learned to play basketball was listen to a person like George Gervin say, hey, the best defense is a good offense. Now, that's not the way he said it at the time, but that's what he was leading on to say, that, definitely at some point, the rules of the game is in order to win, the ball has to go through the hole. So, and being the fact that I know Virginia has more weapons that can put the ball in the hole, on a big stage, you kind of went through the tournament, and, you got a lot of the fear out of you. Now you understand what you're up against. I just think that with them having more weapons offensively and both teams being great defensively, it'll come down to who can put the ball in the hole.
Okay, so you're going with Virginia, and I'm going to ride with the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. That's who I'm going with. So
that'll work.
All right. Well, listen, either way, I mean, I think it should be a good game tonight. Look forward to it, and, look forward to catching up with you, and we can talk about, after the game, and, we can break it down and talk about what transpired. So, all right, Dub, thanks for stopping by again to give us your insights on the game, and enjoy the game tonight.
You also, man. Have a good one, and don't let Virginia frustrate you like that, man.
I actually have fun with it, man. But hey. All right, Dub. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Have a good one.
All right.